Today I find myself at Kingston Park, Brisbane's only outdoor rental karting location, and I'm currently being pushed into a set of tyres. But we'll get to that. It turned out to be a pretty quiet session, so when I came out of the pits I let the others through to race them later on in the lap. Before that, I want to take you through a full lap so you get to know the track. As we come out of the pits, we build up speed to the sweeping left-hander of turn 2, making sure to get a good exit before moving over to the left-hand side to carry as much speed through turn 3 as possible. As you can see, we hold way more speed than kart 17 in front of us, so I tuck in behind him through the S's. I stay right on his tail all the way through the switchback of turn 4. I then swing wide to try and get a better exit, but I just tap him on the bumper and lose some of that straight line speed. Coming into turn 5 now, it's a massive banked right-hander. You have to get a good exit on this corner. As you can see, I have so much more speed than the karts in front of me on the straight. Turn 6 is completely flat. You just have to get your line right to hold as much speed as possible before turn 7. Hanging left before I cut across to try and make the entry into 7 as wide as possible. I then miss the first of the double apex into turn 8 to make sure I get a good exit on the main straight. With this extra speed I can come up alongside 17 and try and make a move on the outside into turn 1. Side by side we go as I try and brake late and hold the speed around the outside, as kart 16 thinks the corner is much sharper than it actually is. This gives me a good enough exit to send it up the inside of turn 2 and overtake into the lead. I did end up pulling away from these two a little bit, so on the next lap I let them back through so we can keep racing. Tucking in behind 16, we move over to the left to get a wide entry into turn 3 again. Ahead 16 has a moment of oversteer, a gap opens up on the left, but I have flashbacks to Magnussen and Perez at Monaco. Not wanting to repeat that accident, I tuck back in behind him. But it's not long before I'm back on his tail. At the end of the lap, I look for the move into turn 1, 16 brakes too late, but because these karts have less torque than a push mower, I don't quite have the speed to go alongside into turn 2. This is where I grossly underestimate the speed of the kart in front of me, and almost send him for a spin. But I do let him back through. See, I am a good sportsman. But all this fighting has let the kart in front go off into the distance. So once I get past 16, I'll have a lot of work to do to catch up to the leader. Coming into turn 7 again, I try and make that entry as wide as possible, just letting off the throttle a little bit to carry the speed through. Kart 16 ahead going way too narrow into turn 8, and with the better exit, I take the inside on the main straight. With all this extra speed, I look to dive bomb down into turn 1. Not much difference between those two clips if you ask me, and I try and keep the exit as tidy as possible so he can't pull a switchback. The race gets a little boring from this point on. As you can see, the leader is way off in the distance and I don't really have much hope of catching it. That little speck right at the end of the straight, yeah, that's the leader. As you can see though, each lap I catch by a couple tenths at a time. But at this point, I knew there wasn't enough time left in the session to fully catch up with him, so once we reached the final few laps and the red lights flicked on, it was race over. And we're back out for the second race. This time I let the two drivers behind me through, but they decide to drive slower than Australia's internet connection for the first entire lap. Once they do get up to speed, I make sure to sit right on the bumper of kart 7 coming into the last sequence of corners. I make sure to go deep into turn 8 so I can V off the corner and get a better exit, giving me way more speed on the straight. As you can see, I straight line the exit, giving me way more speed and the inside line, securing the pass far before the first corner. I move over left, giving myself the best entrance into turn 1 I can. I try and sit on the apex as much as possible, but he gets a bit of a switchback, so I'm going to have to defend into turn 2. I hold the center line, making my kart as wide as possible, but he gets a better exit. This puts him on my outside on the entry to turn 3. I have to park my kart on the apex once again, but I drift a little wide and he pokes his nose up on my right side. He can't quite make the move stick, so I shut it off into the switchback. This then gives me enough clean air to start to pull away. Oh, what's that? You thought I was going to have a clean race? Well, think again. 2 laps later on the exit of turn 8, I just carry a bit too much speed and brush the tyres. And of course kart 7 is right there to take the inside line and get the pass. I'm not letting my position go easily, so I go a little deep on the brakes and try and get a switchback on it. Again, I don't quite get the drive on the exit of turn 1 to go side by side into 2, so I tuck back in behind him for the moment. you can see here just how much more speed I hold through the exit, but he places his car just in the right spot so I can't quite get the inside. At this moment, I just have to try and remember my lines and not keep following the kart ahead, losing me time. As we see kart 7 just having a little slide on the exit of turn 8, gaining me a couple tenths on the straight. It's still not quite enough for me to look for the potential pass into turn 1, so I try and make the best exit possible, and here I swing wide to hold more speed as he comes across and pushes me straight into the tyres. Yeah. But hey, that's rental karting. It happens sometimes. And although I couldn't quite catch up to him in the remaining couple laps, we still had some really solid racing out on track, and he even came up and said sorry for pushing me off. And there you go. As you can see, this is actually my first video on this channel. So if you enjoyed it, it would mean a lot if you hit that like, or even subscribed if you want to see more videos like this. I know I had a blast making it, so I'm sure I'll be back soon.